Push the button. That was a short 45 seconds. 5:01.
Okay, welcome to the Finance Human Resources Committee. It's December 14th. I'm your host, Katie Lupari-Shoup. Dave Risberger, are you here?
Here.
Scott Harrington, are you here?
Yes.
Councilmember Edmund Overby, are you here?
Here.
Okay, I'd also like to acknowledge that we have our acting city administrator, Dave Colton, here with us tonight, so this is very special. And let's get started. So our first, did everyone have a chance to take a look at the minutes?
Yep.
Yeah, they look great. Affirmation?
Yeah.
Aye.
Yep.
Good, great. Topic A, police hiring.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share that that interviews for police candidates were recently conducted, and we are going to be extending some conditional offers of employment. Just so you are aware, I believe they're in the patrol side of the police department. There are 17 budgeted positions. By the end of the year, because of the resignation, we're going to get 12. So we'll be looking at 5 positions that we're looking to fill.
Okay.
These are candidates that have successfully completed the examination and the physical agility. So they're available for appointment. And again, just to clarify, when we extended conditional offers, it's conditional on a few items, including medical and psychological evaluations and background checks. So those items need to be completed. And then, of course, they will be attending the police academy, which, there is not always a 100% success rate through that, just because it is a challenging endeavor. But we are hopeful that we will be having some success in getting people through all that and having new officers in the coming year.
Cool. So do you have 5 candidates that you're?
There are 6 potential candidates as far as that are reachable on the list and pass the physical agility. So that's who we've conducted interviews on, and we're just finalizing what the offers will be with the chief.
Cool. Any questions? Anyone?
Can you repeat what you said about agility just a second ago?
So when we offer the police examination, they obviously take the examination, the written examination, and then there's a physical agility test that gets done after the examination. To be eligible, candidates must pass both, and then of course they're graded based on the scores of the written exam. The physical agility is just a pass-fail, and it's a run, push-up, sit-up with different minimum or target levels that they must meet based on their age. It is age-based for that.
So all 6 of them passed, is that what you said?
These are the candidates that both passed the written exam and the physical agility, correct?
Thanks.
Yeah, we had more candidates than that, but either they didn't pass the physical agility or they were no-shows for the physical agility.
Okay. Additional? Okay, that's exciting. I'll be happy to hear the outcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, topic B, the Quint, our favorite topic here at the Finance and Human Resources Committee. Jenny, you're just in time.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I was a couple minutes.
Oh, no problem at all.
Brian got updated numbers from the manufacturer. The number came in at $1,905,000.
Okay.
What was, I'm sorry, 1 million what?
905,000, 905.
Okay.
And Brad, I don't know if you want to talk about the design of it or not. I don't know if they need that information, but Judy is working on the grant application through the Department of,
through the USDA, Rural Development. It's a community facilities grant and direct loan program. It does not have a deadline. We're gonna aim for having it submitted in January. They won't have a budget for the program until at least after January 19th.
Okay.
And who knows if it'll even be then. We don't know what grant amounts it could be. No idea. They don't know either. Right now, we know that the interest rate is 3.875% right now. It's going down in the next quarter. to 3.8%. So we're aiming, that's why we're aiming to get it in December. We can lock it in at 2 points, and I'll get this confirmed after we get it in, but I believe it's when we submit and they award it. And again, it's possible, I believe, to lock it in when we get the actual equipment in more than 4 years. So, but I'll confirm that. But anyway, right now, the interest rate at 3.8% is better, looks better than our bonding interest rate,
Okay.
so.
So a bond resolution will be needed because whenever you issue any type of debt, you have to have the bond resolution. So we're hoping to, for the council motions, we'll have a motion for the grant application itself
Okay,
and also for the bond resolution.
okay, at the 19th?
Yes.
Excellent.
And because we don't know the grant amount or have any clue, we're just leaving it at a project total of 1.905 million.
Okay,
The grant criteria, you can be awarded up to 35% of the project, but the consultant that Judy
It
is
won't
speaking
even
with.
be close to that, so I didn't even want to mention that number because it won't be that, we'll be lucky. If it's 50, it'll be awesome. If we can get a few $100,000, that will be amazing. And I'm not cluing in on anything much more than that. So these grants are, historically, it's mainly a loan program.
Right.
And the grant's a little bonus. So I'm trying to not be overly optimistic about the grant amount.
Do we have other sources that we're looking into for this?
No, we've tried FEMA
Right.
twice.
Yeah, we tried FEMA twice. There was another financing agency that contacted me, but the interest rate is like 6.7%.
Yeah.
And there is a prepayment option. We're able to prepay at the time of order, correct, Brian, at the time of order?
30 days.
Within 30 days of the time the order is placed, we can have a discount of $225,000. But for us to be able to come up with that at that time, I've got to look at that option. I have to talk to bond counsel and say, hey, would it be a good time to just go ahead and issue the bonds now to be able to do the prepayment on the, but that means the debt payment will start
Right.
even before we have the apparatus.
right,
And so that may be another option
Okay.
to be able to save the $225,000. But I need to look at the interest rate that he could get for right now, which I think is more around 4%. And then we would have all of the closing costs for issuing the bond, which would reduce our prepayment savings.
There won't be any if there's a direct loan with USDA. But we can't order this until we have an award if we want a grant and loan with USDA. So we're gonna have to kind of play it by ear, the timing of that grant and loan, because if that puts us out for a long time, we might wanna just go ahead with bonding. But that loan is a direct loan, that means that there's no fees, there's no closing costs, there's nothing. Okay, just the cost, other than just the payments. And that's payable at the end when the equipment is delivered. So they can award, hopefully they can award soon, once they know what their program is, their funding is. And then they'll hold the grant until we actually get the grant in hand.
How much would closing costs be on something like this?
It depends on the bond issuance itself, and I just wanted to clarify, even though we've been going through that grant agency, we would still have to pay our bond counsel to be able to certify everything for us. I don't know what their fees would be for that process. It could range anywhere from $500 to $10,000. So I don't have that number to provide at this moment. But by being able to go through the grant program for the financing, that will delay the bond payments or the financing payments probably for 4 years, because it's gonna take that long to get the fire truck.
Okay.
And by then, we may actually be able to save up some to put towards the purchase, so we don't have to finance the full amount.
Like we tried to do about 10 years ago.
okay.
I wanna run back a little bit on this. So, council, Tuesday, are we gonna have any kind of motion in front of us?
You're gonna have two motions. You're gonna have one to approve the application to the agency for the grant and the financing for the fire truck. And that's the Department of
It's USDA, so it's United States Department of Agriculture, Rural Development Program.
So that motion will be on to approve us to submit the application to them. The second motion will be a bond authorization to fund the fire truck at some point. It'll either be through our normal bonding process, or it will be through the granting agency.
And that will give him the okay to tell the manufacturer to go ahead and start building this truck.
We have to coordinate the order. As Judy was just saying, we're gonna have to coordinate placing the order depending on how we're going to finance it.
Well, I understand about the USDA, I guess I can understand that, but the whole thing when we started this was to get this gone
This will
by the end.
This will authorize, we won't have to come back to council in January. We won't have to do that. So these two motions are going to give authorization for ordering the truck and also for financing the truck.
Okay, so he can order it, because that's what I asked earlier.
Well, we can order it, but we don't want to order it until we get the coordination between the financing agencies to get our best option.
We can't, so he'll be authorized to order it, so it doesn't have to go through council. But if we want this grant, we need to apply and we need to find out from them what their timing is on the award. I don't know if we apply and if they do find out January 19th what their funding is, if they'll turn it around within a few weeks and award it. If they do that, then he can go ahead, once we have the award, then he can go ahead and order it. If he orders it before we have a grant award, we can't get the grant or loan.
So how much could the truck go up between now and then?
So there is going to be changes after the first of the year. There's a new NFPA standard to which they're gonna have to meet. And it has to do with the seating arrangement in the vehicle. They're supposed to have more space for each individual in their seat. And they're thinking that could go up around $10,000. And then, don't quote me on the exact date, but somewhere around February 1st, there's going to be a 1% increase.
We could include all of that in the bond resolution. We haven't ordered the bond resolution for Tuesday night yet. So we can increase the number from 1905 to include that. The other option is you go with bonding and forget the grant and go ahead and order it. You could order it Wednesday morning if it's approved Tuesday night.
But if you do that, you have to give up the grant.
Yes.
And
And also, right now, the interest rate with the USDA agency is a better interest rate than what we would get through bonding.
Right, and what's the difference, like 1%, 2%? So,
It could, right now, what my bond counsel told me about 2 weeks ago, the interest rates are between 4 and 4.5%.
okay, so it's,
And this is what, she said it was gonna,
3.8%?
yeah, 3.8.
okay, so it's only like
So-
0.2 or up to 0.7.
But back to the 1% increase, and my brain's not really working that good, that's 200,000, right? That the truck's gonna increase potentially, plus the other 10,000, so that's 210,000. So when you start looking at this and what we could do and what, yes, if we waited, if we did this and we did this and we did this, I don't think we're gonna be ahead of the game.
I think you might be right.
You know, because then there's also, you're also playing the roulette game of, okay, if we still get impacted and this goes up and this goes up, you know,
That's 1%.
so
Did you do
I'm
math?
is it 20,000?
It's 20.
20,000, so.
Sorry,
So we're talking about 30,000 between the two things, right?
Okay, so that is
10 and
better.
20?
Well, you said 1%, correct? Yeah, so I'm sorry, Scott, yes,
That's-
it's 20,000, yes.
I just,
Yeah.
medication slowed me down. So, but still, I don't know how much further ahead we could be with everything that could. I guess that's a discussion for Tuesday night though.
Well,
I mean, I just rather get the thing ordered so we know we're there and we know what's coming and.
I mean, obviously, the best option is if you can figure a way to prepay it and then you get the 225,000 extra, but I don't
That you could do through a ban. If you have a bond or if you have a bond resolution, that also authorizes you to take bond anticipation notes.
Right.
And you can pay that, and that doesn't trigger your long-term principal payments, that just triggers your principal payments on the ban.
Yeah, which would,
So,
yes, but it would also, we would have double costs because you'd be issuing the ban, paying the closing costs on that, and then paying the closing costs on the
Right.
bond. But what I'm leaning towards is the grant application, only because the financing, the interest rate's gonna be so much lower. And we also have, in reading that application today, or the guidelines, we can also extend it out longer than 15 years if we need to, which would lower the payment. But I just need to look at those different options. But we can talk about this in more detail on Tuesday night. And, but what if, and this is just a big what if, right? History of these grants have been smaller, but what if they do decide to give us $200,000 to $300,000 or $400,000 towards the 1.9? I don't know if, Judy has said historically they don't usually give that amount of money out, but, at a 1.9, maybe they would consider it. What do you think, Judy?
I don't know, they did say that because it's 1.9 million and they're not used to projects coming in that big, it might be larger, but they can't tell you until they go through and they look at all of our finances. I can say that our reserves are going to help us with the grant, but I don't know how much they'll hurt us. Because we have healthier reserves than a lot of communities have.
Yeah.
So, and they look at that. So I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be overly optimistic and tell you, yeah, we're gonna get tons and tons of grant. I do know we're gonna get something and we're gonna get a good interest rate.
Yeah, so there's like a little something and better interest rate, or, well, right, because we lose the 225,000, but we have the potential at that point to, I guess what we want to understand is how much we would save in interest over the life of the loan, probably.
I'll have that ready for you by Tuesday.
Okay. Thank
I
you.
have a couple of questions.
Yes, please.
Number one, the fact that our reserves are better than the average hurts us in terms of the size of the.
Yes, because why do you need somebody else's money if you have your
Got
own?
it. My other question is, if we order it before the end of the year, does that freeze the cost at whatever they're quoting now?
Mhm.
Even with the new standard coming in on the 1st of January?
At least that's what I'm getting told.
I mean, my question is like, for $10,000, wouldn't we want to meet the current NFPA standard? It's not like, I mean, based on a $1.9 million truck, it's not an exorbitant increase to be, especially for something that we're gonna get in 4 years, to order it this close. I don't know, it's like, I just view it as like, when you get a good deal on a model year, but it's like a safety thing instead, so.
Yeah, but you gotta also understand NFPA standards not always about what's 100. Their job, NFPA's job is to go out and say, always come up with a new standard to do something. A little bit of extra space in a cab doesn't necessarily mean that's safety, it just means it's a little bit more room to get your Scott pack on, your equipment, where you can store stuff. It doesn't always mean it's a safety thing either.
Okay.
But the other thing that I think that we gotta really take into consideration is we already have one truck that keeps breaking. It keeps going down, the rescue engine, right?
It's been out of service for multiple weeks right now.
So we're impacting public safety. The other engine, they're having problems, you said electrical issues with. So that could go out at any time if we can't figure out what that electrical issue is.
I mean,
So 4 years, when it says, oh, we'll get it in 4 years, each month that you start pushing this back, you start playing the game worse and worse of, are these trucks gonna make it that 4 years? If you wanna talk about safety, the safety's right now about our personnel that are on those trucks. It's those trucks responding to the scene, it's those trucks with the public that they could potentially have an issue in the public. You could get to the scene and stuff, it's not working, you can't get stuff or whatever. So now you've gotta look at the other side of liability cost of, because that's when things start happening, because we know we have identified an issue with our apparatus. So I think we have to start really looking that way too, is, you know,
I got a question about the standards also. Chief, how often do they change the standards?
Typically about every 4 years.
Okay,
They have a panel that gets together and.
so it's very likely that we order something at the new standard and we get the truck in 4 years, and by the time we get the truck, there's a new standard. So I guess my point is, I think we can focus on the standard, but not get hung up by it, I think, because, I mean, it's like with anything that you have to buy for work. I mean, there's always something new that comes out, and I think if we get too hung up on that, we'll end up never buying what we need to buy.
we have new emission standards coming
Right.
within the next couple of months of, when we're talking about the truck, the emission standards are gonna be changing, I think around in April or something like that. So,
And just so the committee's aware, Brian and the assistant chief they produced a list of all the repairs that the current apparatuses need. Cool. And you've been going over that with Charlie?
Yeah, we sat down and met with Charlie.
Yeah.
And he's gonna take that list, or he's taking that list, and he's gonna see what can be done in-house and then what needs to be sent out to.
And I've asked them for quotes so we can figure out how much money we need to make all of the repairs, because we do need to make these trucks workable until we get the replacements. And then some of them are gonna need to be working even beyond, because we're not gonna be able to afford to buy 3 fire trucks all at once.
Right,
So, so just know that the repair list is being looked at.
yeah, and so I see your point, Scott, and I see those as 2 separate issues, because there's 2 months one way or another is not gonna change the fact that these trucks are gonna need to last 4 years, and some of them even longer than that. So we need to know what the repairs are, and that's a cost consideration as well. But I think for me, understanding, you know, the cost benefit of both of the options, and what the interest over the term of the loan would be between the two, would be really helpful
Well,
to make the
Tuesday-
decision,
Tuesday
whether we
night-
do it quickly or, we wait a month or 2.
So Tuesday night I'll have 3 options for you. One going through the financing through USDA,
Okay.
one doing a bonding itself, and one doing a bonding for the prepayment.
Okay. Cool. And I think it's helpful to remember that, like, one of the reasons we felt a sense of urgency about this is because we have all been talking about it for so long, and so, there's a sense of support for it. But I think recognizing that there's still a majority that's continuing on in the council who's been part of these conversations and is expecting this quick purchase, so I don't think we'll be really terribly set back if other folks need a little bit more explanation to bring them up to speed.
Yeah, that's fine. And just so you know, the cost involved in actually issuing the bonds, S&P will have to do another bond rating for us, and there's usually a cost for that. Then physical advisors, we have to pay them for their administration of the issuance, and then we have to pay our bond counsel for their administration of the issuance. So that usually adds up to $25,000 to $30,000.
Okay.
can I ask a kind of a silly question?
Of course.
I mean, I understand like if we pay for it around the USDA one, I completely, but if we said, yeah, we're gonna do this, if we took that out, like say we said, yeah, we're gonna give $2 million out of our reserves to pay for this thing, then you can't do the bond, right?
Say that again.
So like if we said, yeah, we'll give the $2 million up front to do this, so we can get the truck order, get the 200,000, whatever it was. You can't use the bond to come back and
Finance it.
finance it.
Well, before you have to have the bond resolution in place before you make the order and also make the payment. So you can always do the bond authorization and then just not issue the bonds if you find another way to pay for it. And then you can actually pass a motion to rescind that bond authorization.
But you're saying to continue to pay the bond?
Well, no, I was like, you can't use a bond to repay, and take out of reserves to pay for something.
To like backfill the
Yeah.
reserves.
So, but you can do a bond resolution. We can accept it, we can do the truck, then if we come up with, no, because we still order it, so we can't do the USDA one.
But you could do a bond and pay for it with a bond without dipping into reserves, or you could do a combination. Right? I don't wanna speak for Jimmy, but.
Right, there's a number of options, so let us,
And that would get you the discount.
so let us brainstorm by Tuesday, and then we'll bring,
Thank you. I mean, I'm with you, I think $225,000 is a lot of money. And, I think that's why I'm really interested in understanding what the difference in the rate is over the life of the loan, because if we are gonna end up paying $225,000 more in interest, then it doesn't really make sense to do that, especially if there's a possibility that we get even $15 for a grant from the USDA. Yeah, we have a lot to consider. I appreciate you pulling that all together.
and I just wanted to let you know that bond council needs a little bit of time to put the resolution together, and we just got the numbers from Brian yesterday. I do not know if I will have it in my possession for the agenda to be issued tomorrow, but we will have it by Tuesday.
Okay. Yeah, as soon as possible, obviously. What'd you say?
I said tomorrow's Friday, I forget.
Yeah, it seems like we have a lot of time, but we don't. Okay. Is that okay with everyone on the committee, if we kind of walk that on with the information?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, great. All right, what's next? Oh, we talked about this last time, the MOU for ground ambulance transports for air medical transport crews. Thank you, Judy.
We sent an ambulance to the helipad at Fox Care Center. And typically when there's critical patients out of Fox Hospital that need to be transported, say to Albany, Syracuse, hospitals that are further away, they'll utilize a helicopter. So all this is a generic MOU that Air Methods uses with municipalities that they use for these transports, so that there's an avenue for us to get paid for it. It's not something that we have in place, so it's not a renewal or something.
Okay.
So this will be added revenue. And I think based on some of the numbers that I ran, I mean, it's not a ton, but we're looking at additional revenue of over $10,000 a year just by doing this.
Nobody else will bill the patient for an ambulance, right?
I have one question about the clinic.
About the Quint?
Yeah.
Okay.
Since we're looking at coming to council with a number of options, will there be a resolution?
A recommendation?
A potential resolution for each option? Or how do we get the resolution in front of council if we haven't come to a decision on the multiple options?
Well, the bond resolution will not change, because the bond resolution will be authorizing the financing in either direction that we go. And as I said, the bond resolution can always be rescinded if we decide to take the full thing out of reserves.
Mhm.
The other motion is going to be generic as far as agreeing for the application and saying that, so if we decide, if you decide that you don't want to go through the grant process and you don't want to take that option, then we can either table the motion, vote it down, or remove it from the agenda if there's that option. You will be able to decide at that point as far as, but as far as the bond resolution, that will not change, depending on, doesn't matter which option we're going to take.
Okay. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, does anyone have any comments or questions about the MOU?
I've obviously been super busy this week. I don't remember if Dave got back to me as far as looking over this yet, so probably touch base with him again to make sure he's,
Okay, Dave Mercer.
yes, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Okay. So we don't have a recommendation or a stamp of approval from our city attorney, but we will by Tuesday. Should we move it up? Or, I mean, is there any,
I got no problem moving it up as long as Dave has a chance to look at it first.
yeah?
Good.
Yeah?
Same here.
Okay, committee's okay? All right, great. Okay. Topic D, restricted donations.
At this moment in time, I have 3 restricted donations for the council to accept. 2 of them are restricted for the Swart Wilcox and 1 for the fire department.
Okay, do you have any more information at this time?
The one for the fire department is $100. The 2 for Swart Wilcox, 1 is $5,000 and 1 is $500.
That's amazing. Especially since they have that barn project.
The OFD one was $100,
$100.
Great, well,
and Swart Wilcox, what were the two numbers?
$5,000 and $500.
Can you say what they were specifically for with Swart Wilcox?
It's just for the Swart Wilcox use, so the Swart Wilcox committee can decide how to disperse it.
Gotcha.
that's cool. Yeah, I mean, we certainly always appreciate that. Okay, Excelis dental plan renewal for 2024.
Yes, for certain employees throughout the city, they are covered by the Excelis dental plan. It's usually the uniform personnel that's under this plan, and it actually has a 12% decrease for 2024, and we would like to bring those renewals for council.
Okay.
You wanna use them for what? I'm sorry, the machine.
I know, that's
The Excelis dental plan renewals, they decreased by 12% for 2024. And we would like to bring those rates and contract to council for approval for renewal. And most of the employees, or really all the employees that are covered under this plan are the uniforms, police and fire.
Okay. Okay. I'm presuming that no one has an objection to our rates going down. Health insurance MOA with IAFF. Do we have to talk about this in executive session, or is this like just?
I can give you some information here, I think, and if you
Okay.
have more questions, we can talk about it.
Okay,
This is just seeking approval to sign an MOA relating to the move to the consortium plan for next year.
okay. I have more questions, but
I mean, I don't know.
can we hold it? Can we hold it and do it at the end?
The executive?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay, consortium agreement.
Okay, this is the topic that we just need to bring a motion to council for the modified agreement with the consortium that will include the shared risk on any lasered high deductible amounts that we had informed council about.
Yeah, I think we're all good. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Excess bond proceeds funding 27 Market Street demolition.
Okay, I've mentioned this to the committee in the past. The bond proceeds that we had for our LED street lighting project, we had excess bond proceeds for it. It's a little over $306,000. And as you know, we were to use a contribution from the general fund to finish finalizing the funding for the demolition of 27 Market. I talked with bond counsel. He can issue a modified bond resolution to change the purpose of those bond proceeds. So we can take that $306,000 and put it towards the 27 Market. And that is my recommendation.
That's from the NIPA project? Okay. And could you explain bond proceeds for me? Like,
Yes, when you issue bonds, the bonds themselves are called proceeds. They're the monies that you receive from issuing those bonds. And that goes for the specific purpose of what the bond was authorized for.
Okay,
If you have excess bond proceeds, which is excess monies that you receive from the debt, you either have to restrict them for future debt payments
okay,
or reassign the use of the funds.
okay, gotcha. So we're basically keeping the original amount of the debt and we're putting the 306,000 rather than taking it out of the general fund?
Both ways would cycle back through the general fund. This way, we can just do it immediately, instead of moving the funds from the excess bond proceeds from the capital project to the general fund, well, really to the debt service fund, then having the debt service fund pay the general fund as they make the debt payments, and then the general fund paying the capital project. So it's like a big circle.
Right.
This way just makes it a direct line.
Okay. Okay, thank you for explaining it in that way. That makes a lot of sense. Comments, thoughts? Does anyone agree, disagree with this suggestion?
No, I think this is fine.
Now, this one, I don't know if he'll be able to get this one done in time for Tuesday or not. But if not, we'll just have it in the first one in January.
Okay, and what does that make, so if we do move the 306,000 to finish the house for the 27 Market Street, do we still have to take anything out of the general?
Just a little bit. I want to say our contribution was like 426,000 or something like that. It was 400 and something. I'm not remembering the exact number.
Okay.
So that 306,000 would cover the, majority of it.
Okay. Let me take some notes so that I am able to articulate that in 4 days.
And I'll have that final number for you.
Thank you. Okay. The fee schedule.
Yes, the fee schedule, as you know, was tabled on, at the last council meeting because of the EMS section that the council discussed. And obviously, the fire department's been a little busy, so the chief really hasn't had enough time to gather the data council requested as far as the number of requests that he receives for providing EMS services at other events. So what we would like to do is to present the same fee schedule that we gave you last council meeting, have the council adopt it for January 1, and then in early January, the chief and I can work together as far as gathering the information and coming up with a recommended policy for council to consider as far as, who is going to be charged and what waivers could possibly be considered.
Okay.
My viewpoint, and I think I stressed this last time, is that anybody who requests it should be automatically charged unless we have a policy that says who is exempted. And we just make it simple and clear cut.
I also personally think that that's the best way to do it, is just to move what we have now and then take our time to adopt something that makes sense for the future.
And just to be clear, there's no requests out there right now.
Okay,
This is our slow time of the season, so.
okay. I had a feeling that we probably wouldn't do any of this in January, so I appreciate you confirming that.
But you could also make it so it doesn't take effect until 2025. You can work
I see what you're saying.
through it. And if you do settle something halfway through the year, you can say, well, this will be we'll incorporate this into 2025 fee schedule
Yes.
versus.
And you also have the option of modifying the 24 fee schedule whenever necessary.
Right, I think that makes sense, rather than trying to come up with something in a crunch, if we'll get the data, we'll look at it, we'll figure out what we want to do in January, that sounds good.
But if we did it right away, it would be there if, in case we needed it, the increases would be there, and then, as Jenny said earlier, we could always modify it in January, February.
So I think the plan, tell me if I'm saying this correctly, is that the fees for public safety are in the fee schedule as
Yes, we are.
presented.
Yes.
It's our application of those fees to specific clients that is inconsistent.
Oh, right,
So that's what we need to figure out.
okay, sorry, I
Yeah,
missed that.
no, that's okay. I appreciate your concern that we were gonna just pass it with a blank section, you know, that's good. So, okay. All right, does anyone object, sorry, to moving that forward as presented?
No objection.
Okay, great, thanks. I love it. Topic J, airport consultant on airport obstruction.
So the FAA allows you, or an agency, an agency, to either have a consultant that's set by term, which we did 2 meetings ago, for a period of 5 years. Or you can have an applicant require an airport consultant on a per project basis. One of the projects that we were working on at the time of the transition was some on-airport obstruction clearance. In order for it to be considered for funding for the 2024 FAA grant cycle, we needed to have 90% designs ready for submission to the DOT for review by the 19th. There was no real anticipation at the time that there would have been a transition in consultants. McFarland Johnson had already begun work on that project for us. We'd like to avail ourselves of the opportunity that the FAA gives us to do a per project consultant and ask that McFarland Johnson continue with that project. So we're just looking for something to be memorialized that they have the authority to act on our behalf for this item.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. Comments? Questions?
That's as opposed to having a totally different consultant have to start over again, right?
Right, so if our
Yeah.
current consultant or newly adopted consultant were to work on a project, we would not be able to have 90% designs in time for it, we would skip a grant funding cycle.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay,
So this will be on the consent agenda? Be a
It can be,
resolution?
yeah, unless there's a desire by the committee to move it elsewhere, yeah.
I would put it on the consent agenda just because it should drive some questions
Need
for other
discussion?
people, yeah. I'm sorry, you want it on the consent agenda, I was thinking discussion agenda.
I'm thinking it's cool. I mean, I agree with you.
That's true.
It doesn't really, I do agree with you though, I think some people wanna ask questions, but.
Yeah, especially since we just went to a new consultant. Either way, I mean, it doesn't matter, I guess.
Doesn't matter to me, I mean, if they want it, they can pull it, then, you know, where you can put it.
honestly, I'm thinking about emailing my notes to everyone, just so everyone has like a little background on things. So why don't we put it on the consent agenda, and then if people have further questions, they can pull it. Okay?
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah,
So you're gonna send your notes to every councilman?
everybody,
Great,
why not? Thank you.
I know it'll help me.
Okay, good, then at least somebody will get a kick out of it. Okay, do we have any additional topics for discussion? Can I ask for a motion to go into executive session to discuss an MOA with the IAF Local 2408?
Are we sure we need to go into exec session
I'm
to
just,
discuss it?
I don't know what needs to be discussed, so.
well, I'm just curious about, because there was some issue with this and the potential.
Well, how about this, why don't you ask your questions, and if it turns out that they don't feel comfortable answering it, then we can go.
Okay, sure.
Exec session.
Okay, so is this a resolution to the situation with the grievance?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you say more about that? That's not an executive session?
Only because it's not approved yet, I don't know, we're still technically negotiating it.
Contract, right? Yeah, that's what I
I'm
thought.
not entirely sure, I don't wanna cross the line because of, I don't wanna, violate any trust that the union have
Yeah, that's what I was
to that
thinking.
process.
Okay.
Okay,
I hope we go into executive session.
thank you, I appreciate you.
I say,
Thank you, I appreciate you.
For
All
the
right,
purposes of discussing a contract negotiation
Yes.
with the
Yeah.
IAFF.
yes.
and who
Thank
needs to
you.
be in the executive session?
Probably just the dais and Joe, I think, will probably be brief.
If Ginny may be here as well,
Sure.
depending on where you guys go with questions.
I'm cool with that, yeah. Thank
Is there
you.
gonna be any business,
Aye.
Aye. No, I don't
there's not
believe
gonna
we're
be
gonna
any
have
business
business
after we come
after.
out?
So presumably, that this may be approved to move up would be I don't think
That's
there may
it,
be,
right.
but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing additional, we're just gonna decide on this and then you'll either see it on Tuesday